I'm a young lady forced into an arranged marriage, but my sworn enemy husband treats me like his private property. Even when I eat an apple, he snatches it from me, heartbroken, and even pulls back the covers to question if I've fulfilled my marital duties. However, when I lay flat on my back, legs splayed in defiance, his ears turned red, and he fled in embarrassment. After being forced into an arranged marriage with my sworn enemy, I snatched the apple from his mouth and heartbrokenly chastised him. This is marital property. Did you ask me before you ate it? My sworn enemy was not to be outdone. That very night, he pulled back my covers and asked, "This is a marital duty. Have you fulfilled it?" I pretended to lie flat. "Come on! Who's scared?" My arch nemesis was stubborn, but his ears were turning red. The day after I returned to the country, Luke was tied up by his parents and sent into my room. He had a dark expression, gritting his teeth as he begged me to untie him. "Are you blind? Untie me, you little brat!" "Oh, who do we have here?" I got down from the dressing table, pretending to have just noticed him, and used a thin eyebrow pencil to lift his chin. "Old dog Luke? Haven't seen you in years, and you're still so pathetic? Coming to offer yourself up?" Even though I knew Luke Dawson wasn't here voluntarily, seeing him tied hand and foot to the edge of my bed, I couldn't help but burst out laughing. "I'm not saying anything, but your aunt and uncle are really ruthless." Luke's hands and feet were completely bound with tight knots of thick hemp rope, tying him up like a crab. "Stop gloating, Jennifer Delaney. Untie me." I crossed my legs and sat on the edge of the bed. "Call me sis." "Are you sick?" Luke looked at me in disbelief. "You're not helping me, and now you're blackmailing me?" "Call me Jie, older sister," I repeated, kindly reminding him. "Think carefully before you speak. I don't have much patience." Luke lowered his head, seemingly contemplating whether it was worth the humiliation to call me Jie. A few seconds later, his face flushed slightly. "Jie. See? Isn't that better?" Watching Luke's disgruntled expression, I felt incredibly satisfied. I quickly untied him. "Get out of my room. Fast. The air gets stuffy when you're around. Do you think I wanted to come? I'd explode if I had to spend another 5 seconds with you." But just a few days later, Luke and I, these two sworn enemies, were packed off to the Civil Affairs Bureau. That day, my mom watched Luke, looking displeased, stride out of my room, and seemed to want to say something but held back. She came into my room and put down a plate of fruit. "You and Luke didn't have a good chat?" What could he and I possibly talk about? I glanced over, noticing the dimmed light in my mom's eyes. I knew then that my mom was an accomplice in Luke being tied up in my room. It's one thing for Uncle and Auntie to be joking around, but why are you and Dad joining in? The Dawsons and Delaney's were old family friends. My aunt and uncle were as close to my parents as if they were family. But ever since I was born, Luke and I just didn't get along, starting to bicker when we were 2. The adults, however, just thought it was kids playing around and that we'd grow out of it. A red engagement letter further sealed our betrothal. From then on, we disliked each other even more. To prove he wasn't a reliable son-in-law and make my parents give up, Luke started squandering money, throwing away hundreds of millions. My dad smiled contentedly. "Youth is for trying new things, Luke. If you need more money, just come to your uncle." Luke, deceased. In order to prove that I was not a peaceful hostess, I let my uncle and aunt give up. Began to travel around the world and took thousands of photos with handsome guys from all over the world and put them in the circle of friends. Auntie liked one after another. "Jennifer, this is handsome. Let Luke make you small in the future." I, deaf. "You can't fight City Hall." Luke, despite his reluctance, couldn't continue his squandering business, and I also sheepishly returned home. As soon as I got back, I was pressured into marriage again. Do I really have to get married? I pitifully leaned on my mother's shoulder, trying to sway her. My mom deliberated before speaking. "Jennifer, there's actually something we haven't told you. Our family has been on the decline these past few years. Your dad's businesses have lost a lot of money and are barely holding on. Marrying into the Dawson family is the best option, but your mom and dad know you don't want to. So if you want to call off the engagement, then call it off. What's most important is that we're all together as a family." Meanwhile, on the other side, Luke threw a coil of rope in front of Uncle Dawson and Aunt Dawson, sneering, "Selling your child for glory? Jennifer and I are incompatible. Why force a marriage alliance?" "Nonsense," Dawson's father roared. "I've never seen anyone more compatible with Jennifer than you." "So, what's the reason?" Luke's brow furrowed slightly, his face full of impatience. "Actually, your parents have been hiding something from you." "Oh?" Dawson's father, sniffling and tearful, said, Our family is on the verge of bankruptcy. Only by marrying into the Delaney family are they willing to help. The next day, both sets of parents joyfully sent us to the Civil Affairs Bureau. Come closer, you two. Miss, sir, please smile. Luke and I felt an electric current between us. The moment we got close, we felt prickly all over. My lips trembled, and I reluctantly forced a smile. Luke's face was also grim, looking as if he owed billions. After getting our marriage certificate, both sets of parents happily sent us to the bridal suite. This bridal suite seemed to have been prepared by them long ago. The location and decor were quite excellent, ready for immediate move-in. But once the elders left, Luke and I immediately changed our attitudes, sitting at opposite ends of the sofa, each disdaining the other. Didn't you not want to? I crossed my arms, deliberately trying to annoy him. Playing hard to get, Luke? Luke wasn't to be outdone. He lightly kicked a trash can and retorted, Didn't you swear you'd never marry? Putting on an act, Jennifer? Our eyes met, then both quickly looked away. 5 minutes later, Luke and I simultaneously tossed the pre-prepared contracts onto the coffee table. Sign it. Sign. Coincidentally, both our contracts detailed the distribution of marital assets, and the content was largely similar. I scanned it up and down, feeling like I'd gotten a good deal. Looking at Luke across from me, he also seemed quite pleased. What a fool who can't understand a contract. I cursed him silently in my mind, then returned to my room to put the signed contract into the safe. After signing the contract, Luke and I spent 2 peaceful weeks. When I came home that day, I heard a crisp sound. Luke was sprawled out on the sofa, and there were freshly peeled apple skins in the trash can. He was leisurely munching on an apple, while his other hand was half raised, scrolling through racing videos. I was busy running around for the family business, and he was comfortably lying there eating an apple? Seeing him so comfortable made me unhappy, so I quickly stepped forward, snatched the apple from his hand, and pulled half of it out of Luke's mouth. Luke sat up, his pupils dilated, seemingly shocked. He looked at me rather blankly. Are you sick? I condemned him with a heavy heart. This is community property. Did you ask me before you ate it? Today you dare to eat an apple. Tomorrow you'll dare to transfer assets. And the day after tomorrow you'll empty our home. Luke, do you have any conscience? These words left Luke speechless. But seeing his gritted teeth, I knew this guy wasn't giving up. I kept an extra eye out. For the next few days, Luke left early and returned late, with no other movements. Just as I completely let my guard down, one night, as I was sleeping soundly, a shadow quietly crept into my room. Click. The person turned on the room light, and the bright light was dazzling. My consciousness instantly cleared. At the same time, my half-open eyes also saw the dog doing evil. Old dog Luke's face was full of triumph. He yanked off my quilt, revealing my pink floral pajamas. This is a marital duty. Have you fulfilled it? Little trick? You think this will work on me? Right in front of Luke, I lay flat on my back. Come on! I was full of righteousness, my gaze firm. Before I even used my big move, Luke backed down. He was stubborn, gritting his teeth and saying, Who's scared? I wonder if Luke realized, when he was being stubborn, that his eyes were darting around and his cheeks were flushed. My ears were already flushed. He threw the quilt heavily over me, and before leaving, he even tried to argue and save face. I knew you coveted my good looks, but I'm not falling for it. Bang! The door was shut by Luke, and the room became quiet again. I buried my entire head in the quilt, shaking with laughter. My naive, almost innocent rival. Why hadn't I noticed how fun Luke was before? But soon, I couldn't laugh anymore. These past few days, I've been swamped at the company, completely overwhelmed. My dad's rival actually snuck over and watered the money tree at our entrance to death. Since my dad started his family and career, this money tree has stood firm at the entrance, unmoving through wind and rain. According to my dad, it's also a member of our Delaney family, a symbol of the Delaney family's prosperity. Even I have to respectfully call it uncle. And that wicked rival actually killed my uncle. Not avenging this is ungentlemanly. In the evening, I changed into dark sun protective clothing, put on a mask and hat, and went out with a bag of nails. After successfully sneaking into the rival's underground garage with other people's cars, I found the 2 luxury cars parked there. I evenly scattered the nails around the tires. After I was done, I proudly took a photo and sent it to my dad. Who's there? A blinding flashlight beam accurately hit me, and a patrolling security guard happened to come by and angrily shouted, What are you doing? Feeling guilty, I covered my face and started running wildly in the huge parking lot. Stop! Don't run! Only a fool wouldn't run! The driver was still waiting for me on a small road not far away. With my strange footwork, I circled the parking lot again and again, successfully shaking off the security guard. Miss, are you all right? No, it's just a small matter. It won't take much effort. But your foot. The vocabulary swirled in his mind, and the driver finally found an appropriate phrase. Why is it swollen like a bun? It doesn't actually hurt, I said, forcing a brave face despite the cold sweat. However, as soon as I got home, I started wailing loudly, clutching my foot. My left foot had been accidentally sprained while I was running away, and it was getting progressively worse. It was swollen high, and the pain was excruciating every time I put weight on it. My parents, who rushed over after hearing the news, lovingly embraced me and even called in the best orthopedic doctor in the area to treat me at home. I was crying hysterically, but didn't forget to look at the doctor with tear-filled eyes. Will it hurt when you apply the medicine? No, it won't hurt. Yours isn't too serious. We'll go to the hospital later for an x-ray, and you'll be fine after a few weeks of rest. When I heard that, I became even more upset. A few weeks? My family can't wait that long. I need to go back to work overtime. Is there any special medicine I can take? Cough, cough. My dad suddenly coughed a few times from the side, his eyes darting away. Jennifer, you just rest well. Don't I still have our company? Our Delaney family will definitely turn the tide and save all our businesses. Then, I was about to say something else when my mother gently patted my shoulder, signaling me to look towards the door. Luke, who had just been called back by phone, was changing his shoes at the entrance. I reacted quickly, immediately pulling out a tissue to wipe away the tears on my face. Miss Jennifer, I'm going to move this a bit and it might hurt a little. If it hurts, just cry out. The doctor focused on examining my injured foot. My hands moved slightly. A piercing pain shot up from my ankle, and I instinctively gripped the sofa, not making a sound. How is it? I weakly forced a smile. Actually, it's not too bad. Who was just wailing like a ghost. Seeing Luke return, my parents quickly got up. One said she had a beauty appointment, the other said he had a haircut appointment, and even the doctor left after giving me medicine. My dad patted Luke's shoulder. Jennifer is in your hands. Immediately, my mom, without a trace of emotion, pulled away the hand that was holding me. The door closed, leaving only Luke and me in the room. We looked at each other, and then he picked up an apple from the coffee table. Right in front of me, he brazenly started to munch on it. After a couple of bites, he even deliberately glanced at me provocatively. Nothing to do? Why are you back? The crisp sound of Luke munching on the apple kept ringing in my ears, and I finally couldn't take it anymore. To take care of my fiancé, who has a lame leg and can't walk independently. After finishing an apple, he started peeling an orange. I was so angry I laughed. Taking care of me? I haven't even seen you pour me a glass of water. I started to feel annoyed after being in the same place as Luke for more than 5 minutes. Despite my injury, I was determined. I stood up on one leg and hopped towards my room. Need help? Luke's voice came. No. All right. If you need help, just say so. Don't be shy. I'm a kind-hearted guy. I might just help. I slammed the door shut. 5 minutes later, a strange thump-thump-thump sound came from outside. The floor vibrated slightly. I opened a crack in the door and peeked out. Luke was imitating me, lifting his left foot and bouncing around the living room. Are you crazy? Maybe a little, Luke said, holding a fruit platter, hopping over and presenting it to me. But not much. I reluctantly accepted Luke's fruit platter. Peeled oranges, cored apples, and various other fruits like bananas and strawberries. They were arranged into a smiling girl in a floral dress. I had no idea where he learned such a trick. Underneath the plate was a note, written in a flamboyant hand. Half my apple is yours. That's more like it. I had barely finished praising Luke in my mind when I realized I had praised him too soon. Normally, Luke and I avoid each other as much as possible and never eat at home. Today, we were forced to sit at the dining table, and Luke was the one cooking. First up was scrambled eggs. I picked up a piece of eggshell and asked, "What's this?" Luke stubbornly replied, "For calcium." Next came stewed pork hock. He eagerly placed it closest to me, saying, "You are what you eat," I retorted. "Has anyone ever told you that you need to eat some pig brains?" Finally, several cold dishes appeared. Shredded kelp with peanuts, shredded chicken with peanuts, and celery with peanuts. It seemed like we had an endless supply of peanuts at home. Eat up. Luke's slightly smug expression didn't seem fake. It's talent that I, a young master, can cook such delicious food the first time I step into the kitchen. I took a deep breath. I have a chef friend named who's a great cook. If you're really interested in cooking, I can recommend her to you. No, Luke said. picking up a piece of seaweed with his chopsticks. This is a special meal for you, the patient, and it's a one-time thing. I spent a rather harmonious 2 weeks at home with Luke. During that time, Luke and I had 3 big arguments and 11 small ones, digging up all sorts of old grievances. He accused me of dyeing his white hair with paint when we were kids. I accused him of stealing my little dress and putting it on his dog. After every argument, win or lose, that guy would always deliberately imitate me, lifting his left foot and hopping right in front of me. He's absolutely insane. I finally couldn't take it anymore and secretly called Dad in the middle of the night. Dad, how's the company? Do you need me back? It's really too boring at home. Smart as my dad was, the next day he arranged a job for me that was close by and had a carpool at Uncle Dawson's company, working with Luke. Voluntarily? Luke held my arm as I went down the stairs, carrying my bag in his other hand. You're like a wild boar that can't appreciate fine food. You don't want to enjoy yourself at home, you just like to suffer? None of your business, I said, my face cold, shaking off his hand and limping into the car. All right, but let me warn you first. At my dad's company, I started from the bottom. No one knows my identity, and some of the supervisors are quite harsh. Don't cry when the time comes. When have I ever cried? Oh, you haven't cried. Luke leaned his head closer. What foundation did you use when you injured your foot that day? 2 lines of white tears went straight to the sky. So many words. I suggest you cut off your mouth, dear. Soon, I witnessed the difficult-to-deal-with supervisor Luke had mentioned. Uncle Dawson arranged a leisurely job for me, essentially a document transfer station. Various departments would send over documents that needed to be submitted, and I would uniformly format them and submit them by category. It was perfect for someone like me, who had injured my foot and couldn't move much. Before long, I became familiar with the job. Jennifer. My colleague sitting next to me leaned over during lunch break, poking her head out and asking curiously, "Do you have some kind of family background?" Huh? She smiled mysteriously. Everyone knows this is a cushy job, high salary, little work. I heard before that Supervisor Tony wanted to arrange for his niece to come in. Are you Supervisor Tony's niece? Then I guess I'm not that cushy. My colleague looked surprised, and just as she was about to say something more, Supervisor Tony appeared out of nowhere and called my name. The new one, Jennifer, right? Come here for a moment. It was lunchtime, and all the colleagues were resting. I subtly furrowed my brow, supported myself on the desk, and slowly made my way over. When I got to Supervisor Tony's office, he didn't say anything, busy organizing documents with both hands. Within 5 minutes, he took 3 calls, 2 of which involved him yelling at the people on the other end. What he was hinting at with his veiled criticisms was anyone's guess. After a while longer, he finally seemed to remember. I was there. Jennifer, right? There's nothing else I need you for. Your document processing skills are quite good. I'm thinking of transferring you to another department for some experience. You're overqualified here. Thank you, Supervisor Tony. Standing on one leg for so long had drained some of my strength, and my face wasn't looking great. I think this position is quite good, not overqualified at all. How can it not be? You're still young. You should go out and explore more. Supervisor Tony seemed to have studied Peking opera, as his expression changed in an instant. I'm doing this for your own good. The implication was, don't be ungrateful. He was senior and usually strict with people, so most would just endure such a situation. But I've always been soft-hearted but tough-minded. I couldn't tolerate being pressured like this, right to my face. I understand what you mean, but I'm a rebellious person and have always been ungrateful. You've run into a hard rock. Countless eyes outside were fixed on Supervisor Tony's office, and the semi-transparent frosted glass room couldn't contain the sound. If we spoke a little louder, everyone outside could hear us clearly. Luke, passing by as if watching a show, saw my empty seat and asked a colleague next to him, "Where's the new hire from this morning?" The colleague lifted her chin, gesturing towards Tony's office. "Still young," Tony said, leaning back in his chair, his face dark. "It's not your fault you can't speak well. Plenty of people will teach you later. Today, I'll teach you 2 things. No, Mencia said, being eager to teach others is a sickness. I leaned against the wall, slowly walking out. Kindergarten has preschool teachers, elementary school has elementary school teachers, and you haven't even gotten your teaching certificate. How dare you say you'll teach me 2 things? Tony's face turned pale, then red, and he couldn't utter a word. Out of the office, I looked up and saw a familiar back. Luke? It looked a bit like him, but we weren't in the same department. What was he doing here? Watching the show? I didn't think much of it and walked straight to my seat. On my desk, a box of fruit lay quietly. A small note was attached. I'll share half of my strawberries with you. At the end of the day, a colleague and I walked out together. Luke's car was quietly parked there. My colleague nudged me. Go on. Seeing my confusion, she smiled mysteriously. You're Luke's girlfriend, aren't you? This morning, when Tony was giving you a hard time, he happened to come by with fruit and blurted out, How cool, Jennifer. Isn't Jennifer your nickname? I got into the car, half believing, half doubting. Luke had called me by my name only a handful of times, let alone my nickname. At least, not in my 20-plus years of life. My colleague's confident tone made me even more puzzled. I tentatively called out, Luke? Luke calmly responded, driving seriously, showing no other emotions. I was left fuming in the passenger seat. When did Luke and I become the kind of people who call each other by nicknames? Before I could figure it out, the phone rang, and an anxious voice came through. Miss, where did you put the data for the land in the northern suburbs? Didn't that land go to the Dawson family? Our company can't afford that amount right now. Huh? The person on the other end of the phone was clearly confused. What's wrong with our company? The northern suburbs land? Taking advantage of the red light, Luke also leaned over, his brows slightly furrowed. Hasn't it always been in Uncle's hands? I sensed something was off, quickly hung up the phone, and carefully began. My parents previously said that the family business wasn't doing well, so they gave you the North District plot, and also said that a marriage alliance with your family could be a glimmer of hope. Could it be? What a coincidence, Luke said, his face pale, gritting his teeth. My parents said the same thing. So my parents teamed up with your aunt and uncle to trick me into marrying you, I thought. No wonder my dad's eyes were shifty that day, and my mom hadn't called in so long. Turns out they had guilty consciences and didn't dare face me. Is it really that serious? Luke took off his sunglasses. If they had just persuaded me a bit more, I might have agreed. Why put on such a show? Was this guy serious? I turned my head, looking at him in shock. Luke, you don't have any ulterior motives towards me, do you? What do you think? I was fuming and shut my mouth. After returning home, the relationship between us dropped to freezing point. Neither of us spoke to the other, each returning to our own rooms. Since there was no family bankruptcy crisis, I had no reason to stay with Luke anymore. It would be better to get a divorce certificate early and separate. However, before getting the certificate, I video called my parents and vehemently denounced their actions. Pushing your own daughter into a pit of fire? You have such nerve. Calm down. Calm down, Jennifer. Who gave you such a bad idea and then went bankrupt? A sob story? You knew Luke and I didn't get along, but you insisted on pairing us up. As I spoke, I cursed Luke 300 more times. Jennifer, what do we do now? Mom looked at me guiltily. Are you two getting a divorce? My eyelid twitched slightly. Meanwhile, Luke was also on a video call. Bankrupt? He sneered. Playing such a big game? You almost fooled me. I wondered why you wouldn't let me go back to the company these past few days. Afraid I'd find out, right? We also know that you can't force feelings. Uncle Dawson hesitated before speaking. But you and Jennifer are really a good match. What if by forcing it, you actually fall for each other? Your mom and I will just be the bad guys this one time. Being the bad guys again? Who was it that tied me up in Jennifer's room when she came back to the country last time? Uncle Dawson fell silent. Just then, Aunt Dawson's head popped out. Since you and Jennifer still can't get along, your parents won't force it anymore. How about a divorce? Luke and I sat at opposite ends, each with a copy of a contract. For a long time, no one spoke. Ahem, the company has been a bit busy these past few days. Luke coughed lightly. No time to go through the procedures. He raised his eyes and looked at me intently, then quickly looked away the moment our eyes met. I don't know why, but these past few days I've been flustered and unable to say a word, so I just dryly replied, I'm pretty busy too. Then, there's no rush. The room fell silent again. Luke seemed genuinely busy. He got up and left, leaving me at the long table, staring blankly at the contract. Here, until a hand reached out to me. Long, slender fingers, with a hint of pink at the knuckles. Try it? He offered me half an apple, while the other half he brought to his own mouth. It tastes pretty good. Thanks. I took it and bit into it. It was indeed pretty good. In the following days, we continued as usual, neither of us mentioning the divorce, but some things were different. I would occasionally find myself staring blankly at Luke's back, then pretend not to notice him when we met. It was strange, but I couldn't pinpoint why. Just then, a friend I'd met while studying abroad came to visit my city, so I made time to meet him and relax a bit. Charles started exclaiming as soon as he saw me. Jennifer, you're getting more and more beautiful. Thanks. I asked for Charles's opinion, finished ordering, And when I looked up, he was still staring at me. What's wrong? Charles shook his head. It feels like you're troubled by something, or annoyed by someone. His clear blue eyes seemed to see right through me. You're right. I didn't intend to hide it from him. What kind of person is he? I briefly described the forced marriage arrangement to him. Charles tapped the table and summarized. So he's a handsome, witty, and patient man, your nemesis, and the person who's been bothering you for days now. Pretty much, but I didn't mention his looks. How did you guess? I reluctantly agreed. Charles blinked. He and I are here right now. I followed his gaze. Outside the glass window, Luke was standing not far away. Noticing my gaze, he raised his hand and waved. I went back with Luke. Inside the car, even our breathing was clearly audible. Aren't you very busy lately? I adjusted to a comfortable sitting position. Why are you here? The place where I met Charles was the city's large entertainment center, and Luke's company was still some distance away from here. I don't know how he managed to appear precisely outside this restaurant, right by the table Charles and I had agreed upon. Aren't you busy too? He retorted, his tone harsh. Yet you still have time to come out and meet this photo op guy. Photo op guy? Open your moments. The third post from the top. That's a photo with this guy. I opened it, as he said, and sure enough, it was just as Luke described. Charles was wearing a graduation gown, and I was holding flowers for him next to him, even making a peace sign. Friends I haven't seen in a long time. There's nothing wrong with having a meal, I said, putting away my phone, feeling a strange panic in my heart, deliberately emphasizing the word friends. I know, just friends. Luke looked straight ahead, sighing with a mix of sincerity and sarcasm. After all, you didn't even fall for someone as handsome as me. So you'd fall for him? Before I could react, Luke added, I mean, Jennifer, you don't even like someone like me. What kind of person do you like? Do you like someone with wings who can fly you to the sky? Or someone who can breathe fire and water? I froze in my seat, and after a long pause, I finally blurted out, Am I supposed to like the Calabash brothers, who breathe fire and water? Exactly. Luke slowly loosened his tie. There are no Calabash brothers in this world. So please, just look at me. The past 20-odd years haven't hit me as hard as today. Luke, my lifelong nemesis, actually has designs on me. My head was spinning. I wrapped myself in the quilt, only my head peeking out, repeatedly checking my phone to confirm it wasn't April Fool's Day. Knock, knock, knock. The door suddenly rattled. It was Luke's voice. Dinner's ready, come out and eat. That guy diligently cooked a huge meal, and it looked much better than last time. After eating, I was about to sneak back to my room when he brought over a plate of fruit. Take it inside to eat. Why do you look at me like I'm a tiger? You never used to be afraid of me. You weren't like this before either. Seeing my dilemma, Luke smiled. It's no big deal. I won't pester you. If you like me, you like me. If you don't, you don't. It's just a little sad. That's all. If you don't agree, we'll have to leave this house tomorrow. After our bankruptcy was exposed, Luke and I agreed to go to the Civil Affairs Bureau to get our divorce certificate after a while, but it kept getting delayed by various things, and tomorrow was the day we had agreed upon. After getting the divorce certificate, I would return to my Delaney home to be the young lady I was, and Luke would return to his Dawson home. It seemed like nothing would change, but only those involved knew that many things were different. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling until the first ray of morning sunlight streamed through the curtains. Luke was waiting for me outside the door, looking dejected but pretending not to care, forcing a smile. Let's go. The moment we stepped out, we were trapped. The lock on the main door was broken. Neither fingerprints nor keys would open it. We both stared at the door for a while. Luke finally decided to climb out the window and try to open the door from the outside. Be careful! I held the stool for him, and he nimbly leaped out the window. Ah, the moment he landed, a clear cry of pain came from outside. What's wrong? My heart skipped a beat, and I leaned out. The guy was clearly standing perfectly fine on the ground. Just kidding. He turned away, thinking I hadn't noticed him smiling, his shoulders shaking like a cat that had stolen fish. But Luke fiddled with the door for a while outside and still couldn't open it. Strange. It was fine when I came back yesterday. Separated by a wall. Luke sneezed. How about we call a locksmith? The locksmith came and went, and just getting out the door wasted over an hour. Finally, in the car, I leaned back in my seat, looking out the window at the house. Ever since my marriage to Luke, I've returned here every day, almost accustomed to life here, life with Luke. My thoughts raced, but the scenery remained still. Luke got out of the car, then got back into the driver's seat, telling me helplessly, the tire's flat. Huh? I unbuckled my seatbelt and got out to look. Sure enough, several small thumbtacks were evenly scattered in front of all four tires, ready to be hit as soon as the car moved slightly. "It's probably the competition," Luke said lightly. He had one hand in his pocket, his fingertips tightly clutching the corner of his clothes, seemingly a little nervous. I instantly understood the whole story. "Then let's go to the bus stop. There's one nearby." I feigned a suggestion. As expected, Luke's expression froze. He opened his mouth but didn't say a word. Where do all these accidents come from? I knew it had something to do with this guy. I pretended not to see and walked forward with my bag. Luke followed silently, and soon, the thumping sound of landing grew louder. I turned around and saw him hopping on one foot. "Maybe I sprained it jumping out the window just now and it's only hurting now. That's no small matter. Can you make it to the Civil Affairs Bureau?" "I should be able to." He gritted his teeth. "I can't possibly delay you, can I?" If he were to debut, his acting today would definitely win him Best Actor. The sunlight filtered through the leaves onto his face. I never thought I'd have such an encounter with him. I stepped forward and took his arm. "It's good to persevere. Let's go." "This direction doesn't seem right." Luke's voice trembled slightly. "Aren't we going to the Civil Affairs Bureau anymore?" "We're not getting divorced. The first week Luke and I were officially together, my parents called every few hours. Are you dreaming? Are you really together? It's not an act, is it?" As for my aunt and uncle, when their neighbors asked them, "Have you eaten?" my aunt and uncle immediately replied, "How do you know Jennifer is my daughter-in-law?" They were so eager to spread the news about Luke and me everywhere with a loudspeaker. In the first month Luke and I were together, he secretly planned a grand proposal. The audience was full of familiar friends and family, and on stage was the man I would spend my life with. Over the past month, Luke and I still occasionally bickered and argued over trivial matters, but we quickly calmed down. This seemed to have become a special way for us to get along. One night, as I was half asleep, he leaned close to my ear and whispered to me, "There's a little secret I've always wanted to tell you. That time I was tied up in your room. When I saw you again years later," my first thought was actually happiness. He pulled me into his arms. "I just realized I had a crush on you back then." I hugged him back tightly, without a sound. The first year with Luke, he's a guy who's great at creating surprises, and for this first anniversary, I decided to give him one. I took him to see the Northern Lights. The sky was filled with dazzling, shifting colors, and the ground was covered in pristine white snow. I cupped his face in my hands and told him, "During those years I spent abroad, I met all sorts of people and made all sorts of friends. But it wasn't until I saw you the day I returned home that I felt everything became interesting. My nemesis, and also my lover.